All right, we are now recording. So thank you, second grade families, for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate your time. My name is Amy Kaler, and I am the principal or coordinator for Star Academy. And I have a few people with me here today, and I'll just go across and they'll kind of wave so you can see them. I have Shayla Mize, Leslie Bogman. I always am going to butcher your name. Sorry.
Bachman.
Bogman. I knew I was going to butcher it. Sorry.
You're okay.
Taryn Rojas, Susie Steinlein, and Francesca Donato. So once again, as we're going, if you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to type them in the chat. Ms. Donato will be watching that, and the second grade team and myself will be presenting and answering any of those questions you might have. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. There we go. Let me minimize this. All right, so today we're going to be presenting on the hybrid plan for second grade. A couple weeks ago, actually, I believe the end of October, I did an overall presentation for all of Star Academy regarding hybrid. And then as we were seeing questions that were coming up, we figured it would be best to give parents specifics about each grade level. So once again, thank you for joining us. These first few slides are actually going to be a review from the presentation I gave into October, but talking about how we have been planning for this transition to hybrid, our three main things that are driving what we're doing are safety, consistency, and stability. So during this time, since November, the beginning of November, we had families sign up for which track they preferred, whether it's hybrid A, hybrid B, or extended distance learning. And then we have been spending the last few weeks building those classes and doing our best to meet the preferences that all families put in, as we are also accommodating families to ensure they're on the same tracks. Following this, we will be sending out class assignments, which it will say who your teacher or your child's teacher will be for semester 2. And then it will also say if you're hybrid, if you're track A or track B, or if you're extended distance learning for the remainder of the school year. And that will be coming out tomorrow. And then on January 4th, this is the first day of semester 2. And this is when your new teacher, or it might be the same teacher, depending on how things work out, you will be with that person moving on from January 4th until June 11th. And then our tentative date for switching to hybrid had been January 4th, but because of the region and where we are sitting at with the health orders, we are currently in the purple tier. So we will not be able to meet that date at this time from what we are seeing. So we are now on a rolling timeline for transitioning to hybrid. But as soon as the region is able to move into a red, orange, or yellow, we will be transitioning over to hybrid probably within about a 2-week period, which is pretty quick. And that's why we're going ahead and doing these switches now, so we're able to transition quickly into hybrid and to make stuff as consistent and stable for students as possible. And this time with the semester, first semester ending and the second semester starting, it's a natural time to make this change. So once again, our model that we have built is really to be supportive for our staff, teachers, and students and families. So we are going to have designated hybrid teachers, designated distance learning teachers, and then a distance learning facilitator, which is new. And this distance learning facilitator will be really helping those distant learning teachers with the students, and then also supporting the hybrid students who are on their virtual days. So as we're making this pivot, we just want to make sure that we ensure all of our students, the students that are in person and the students that are virtual, are receiving the best possible education, while also ensuring that we have a safe and stable work environment for our staff and also for our students. We want to do everything we can to make sure once we move into this that we're successful for all of us. So consistency, second grade is actually going to go into a little bit more depth about this. As we transition over to hybrid, our extended distance learning students, their day will look very similar to what it does now. But our students, when they are on hybrid and they come in person, we really want to maximize that time for the interactions, building relationships in the classroom, and working with each other. So those will be low tech to no tech days. Um, and then for whole group instruction, independent practice, and office hours, this is something that second grade will go into on one of the later slides for more specifics about this grade. And then our distance learning and hybrid schedule will stay almost identical to what it is now. The main change is that our hybrid students will have a soft start in the morning. So that means on the days that they come to campus between 8:10 and 8:30, they have that time window to come into the school. They're going to exit their car. If you're walking up, they'll walk up and walk in on their own straight to the classroom and then have a seat in their area, and the teacher will have them doing some kind of a soft start activity. And then class will begin right at 8:30. And now I'm going to pass it over to the second grade team to go into more specifics.
This is a slide that introduces us. So I'm Miss Steinlein. I'm going to be one of the hybrid teachers once we're able to open and start hybrid.
And I am Miss Shayla Mize, and I'm going to be one of the distant learning teachers.
And I'm Mrs. Leslie Boffman, and I am going to be the other distance learning teacher.
I am Taryn Rojas, and I will be a hybrid teacher.
And then we have.
Hi.
She's
Sorry.
I didn't realize you were here. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Khadija Aguinaldo. I'm the new second grade distance learning facilitator.
Gotta unmute myself. So this is a sample schedule for when we get back in January. When we get back in January, we're still going to be all distance learning. So we've made a schedule to kind of maximize our time for when we get back. So it's going to look very similar with some small changes. We'll still start at 8:30 with our morning meeting, and then it'll be live. We'll have our 9 to 9:30 math lesson. And then at 9:30 to 9:50, we're going to be starting intervention groups for math. We found that math is an area of need for our second graders, and we want to provide a little bit more support. So we have created some math groups, and we'll be doing math intervention from 9:30 to 9:50. This can only be sustainable while we're still distance. Once we start hybrid, we'll have to rework our schedule a little bit. But while we're still distance, we're going to use our time a little bit wisely with our kids. Then they have their normal recess break. They have their reading lesson at 10:05. They still have specials. And then we did decide to extend our lunch a little bit longer. We had a weird block of time where we were doing teacher's choice, but we have been finding that our second graders are either showing up late after lunch or they are still putting food in their mouth, which makes it really hard to learn. So we made lunch go from 11:10 to 11:45 just to give them a little bit more time to eat. And we took out that teacher's choice time, which was usually just like a read aloud or a game. Then we're going to do theme, workshop, phonics. We did move our SIPS lesson. Phonics will now be from 1 to 1:30. That's an independent activity that happens from 1 to 1:30 on their own. That's one thing that's changed. And then we have small groups in the afternoon with office hours. So that's just a sample schedule. When we update our schedule, when we start hybrid, we'll let you guys know how we're changing. Something we did want to note, we found out we were all sending our daily slides a different way, and we're going to try and be more consistent. Now all the daily slides for the day will be found on Seesaw and in the Star News. So in the morning, your child will check their Seesaw notifications to find their slides, and that's where they'll be. I think I got it all. Did I get it all? Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So when we go into hybrid, whenever that happens, this is kind of idea of what it will look like. Amy touched on this a little bit. but I'll go ahead into some more detail. So from 8:10 to 8:30, we have a soft start. So as students are coming in, we're going to have some independent activities that the students will work on, various activities, whether it's extra practice in something that we've taught previously or silent reading. There should be some type of choice to this activity as well, as we have kids kind of trickling in. At 8:30, we will start our class meeting. The biggest part of this class meeting is to check in, to build community, and just to have some type of connection to start your day. Sometimes that means a game, and sometimes that means just, we notice that some kids are struggling to get up in the morning, and so we want to make sure that we get them stretched and all that. But for the students who are here in the class, it is definitely a community building time. So it is going to vary between distance learning and then hybrid. So the hybrid in class, we're really spending that time just us. So for example, since I'm a hybrid teacher, when the kiddos come in, I'm going to have a smaller group of kids, and I am working with the kids who are in class with me that day. For the kiddos who are part of my class but are not in the classroom, they will be meeting with our facilitator, Miss Khadijah, in the morning. So for the hybrid students who are on campus, we're going to be meeting with them, just them. I will not be, Miss Steinlein and myself will not be on the computers or on the computer on Zoom with the students at that time. So it's a really great time to just kind of build community, to give them our full attention while we're here in the classroom with the students. And then the students who are online will also get that community building and have a chance to spend some time with the facilitator before they transition to the distance learning teacher for that day. For the classroom, we definitely want to focus on direct instruction and giving each student their one-on-one time that they need, whether it's one-on-one or even just in small group. Having that opportunity to meet with the students in person can really give us a chance to kind of regulate where they are. Something that has been found to be very difficult over Zoom is checking for understanding. Do they have it? Do they not? Being able to use manipulatives in a very safe way, clean manipulatives, but being able to do that in person would be really helpful. So we're trying to make sure that we spend more time either having the children be able to be hands-on and give one-on-one supports, which means that I would rather have more conversation, more group discussion rather than technology, which is why we're choosing to have very low to no technology use during the in-class hybrid days. Each student is going to have their own supply. So whether it is manipulatives, coloring supplies, writing supplies, everyone has their own. And the supplies, for example, like manipulatives, those are going to be cleaned in between each use. So we'll make sure that each student has their own materials. They're going to be kept at their own individual desk with the social distancing parameters as well. So 6 feet apart, make sure they have their own pod. We definitely know that second graders can get a little squirmy. So Ms. Steinlein and I have been brainstorming on ways to make sure they have enough space. We have students who maybe they need to sit on the floor. Maybe they need to stand up and stretch. So we want to make sure that we keep our distance and are making safe choices, but also making sure that we can give them what they need to do their best learning while we have them in the classroom. Hand washing is definitely built into our schedule, and we're making sure that everything stays clean. Lunch will be from 11 to 11:20. The students will have a designated place for lunch, and that all the cohorts will stay together. So my class will stay together, and so will Ms. Steinlein's. They each have their own spots. We're not intermingling. So that means that my students are not going to be having lunch with Ms. Steinlein's students, even though they're on campus at the same time. We want to keep the pods together. Pickup will be at 1 o'clock, and the class will line up up front. And of course, we're going to be following our physical distance guidelines. Recess is also outside as long as our weather permits. considering that we're going right into our winter time when we come back. Hopefully we have good weather to get these wiggles out. But the cohorts again will be staying together. So only my students who go out to recess will be staying in their track. Miss Steinlein's would be separated, and so on and so forth with all of the different grade levels. And then afternoon independent work. So our facilitator is going to be supporting with small group. Each one of us second grade teachers will be doing small groups in the afternoon. If my track, who I was in person with for the day, once they go home, I'm going to be meeting on Zoom with my students who were learning from home that day. So my time in the afternoon goes to the students who I did not see in person, and then it switches when we go to the different tracks. So we really want to make sure that we're supporting all students each and every day. The students have a chance to see me, to talk to me, to ask questions and clarification. And then we're also giving some extra practice items in the afternoon to do.
Ooh, Mrs. Rojas, do you want to add how important it is to bring their binder every day?
Yes, maybe, kind of. Yeah, so definitely supplies. We're going to have supplies, individual supplies here at the school, writing, pencils, erasers, crayons, all those good things. But the biggest and most important thing is that binder. That binder does need to travel to and from school each day that your student comes on campus. It is very, very important. We have a very limited extra supply of items, and we're prepared. We realize we're working with 7 and 8-year-olds and things are going to happen. But at best, if we ask for your support to make sure that these binders come to and from school with all materials included in them.
Here we go. Okay, so what will virtual hybrid look like? So if your student is on hybrid and it is their days where they're at home, and for example, if they're on the Monday, Tuesday, they're in class, and then Thursday, Friday, they're at home, what their day will look like is from 8:30 to 8:50, they will log in to Zoom with Miss Khadijah for attendance, and then also for social emotional learning time. So that 20 minutes is super important. They're there on time so she can take attendance, and they can work on social emotional, and they can bond and build that community as well. Then at 8:50, they will log in to their distance learning teacher. So how it's going to work is Mrs. Rojas, if your student is with Mrs. Rojas for hybrid, then they will come see me for distance learning on their off days. And then the same thing for Miss Steinlein. If they are with her for hybrid, on their off days, they will be with Miss Mize for distance learning. So at 8:50, they will log in. We'll go over our slides together, and they will join the distance learning students from my class. So all of those virtual students, they'll still be in my class. I will be doing the same thing as Miss Khadijah is, but I'll be taking attendance for my own class. We'll be working on social emotional, working and building that community online. And then at 8:50, the virtual hybrid students will join us. And then we will be following the same schedule, and we will be working on that direct lesson instruction for that day. They will receive additional support for their main teacher during virtual office hours each afternoon, or from the distance learning facilitator throughout the day. So if your student has questions, they can always ask me. They can sign up for office hours after school with Miss Khadijah as well to ask questions as well. And remember, if they're on their off day and I am meeting, for example, all of Miss Rojas' students are with me and your student has a question, they'll be meeting with Mrs. Rojas in the afternoon for small group as well. Super duper important is punctuality. We've been noticing that students are sometimes showing up late or they're logging out early. So it's really important that they're on time and they're ready to go. They're prepared. So ideally what we want is they know what pages we are working on that day. They have those packets out. If they know they have Spanish for specials, they have that folder out. It's ready to go. They have all of their supplies ready, their whiteboard ready. And so having all of that ready and starting and being ready to go is really helpful to make sure that we really maximize that learning time online. And then hybrid teachers will occasionally, they'll offer pre-recorded lessons on daily slides for additional support. So all of you have seen the wonderful Mrs. Rojas writing lessons that are sometimes on our slides. So we'll continue to do that. You'll see me on the phonics lessons as well. So we'll still include those pre-recorded lessons for additional support as well. And then it'll end at 1 o'clock.
And then as Miss Kaler has brought up in previous emails and previous presentations, main concern was the social emotional support and connections that our students have been making here at school. And so we want to make sure that we're supporting you guys at home as parents, as well as supporting our students. So we are going to continue with our Kind Kids Club, and that is our social emotional learning that we do with Miss Hines. We will be doing more of a structured morning meeting here pretty soon, come January. So those will be helpful. We have the daily virtual office hours, and those are going to be offered a little bit more often now that we do have Miss Khadijah. It's going to be a longer time frame. I think we decided it was 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock for that time frame. We have Spirit Weeks, which we have next week. That will be coming out soon. So make sure your kid is dressed up next week. School-wide mindfulness skills, we will also be completing and doing. That is done with Miss Shane through art. And we have some other fun ideas up our sleeves, as well as there's counseling support always. It's always located on our Star News, that document. So you can always click that and help your child sign up if they need that. Supports for you guys. So we're offering virtual parent education nights, as well as some family nights. There was Sammy Circuit this past week. We also have counseling support for parents. We will continue sending out our updates, which is our Star News, as well as that's our newsletter and any updates we have. We also have the Star Academy update email that Miss Kaler sends out regularly every Friday. And then we have just regular feedback opportunities. I can speak for myself, but I also feel like I can speak for all of second grade. We are always available via email, Remind. So you can always reach out to us as well.
This was the slide we thought Laura was doing because her
Okay.
so we didn't sign up for this one.
What is this?
Do you want me to go through it?
Yeah, we didn't.
So safety and lunch and movement around the campus. So once again, we have that staggered drop off in the morning, and the dismissal times, kinder and TK, are a little bit different. Designated specific routes for entry. So there will be arrows on the ground for the direction you should be walking in and what side you should be on to keep that spacing. Face masks are required for all students and staff or visitors, which visitors at this time won't be able to come on campus because once again, we're limiting and trying to keep our cohorts together without breaking those cohorts. And part of that has to do with less exposure to virus and other germs, but also for the tracking purposes for COVID. For recess and breaks, once again, classes will have specific areas. So second grade might be out there at the same time, but somebody might be in the designated area of the grass area, and somebody might be designated to the blacktop area, and so on. The cohorts will not intermingle. There is going to be hand washing and hand sanitizing all the time. So when students come in the classroom, when they leave the classroom, when they eat lunch, after they eat lunch, when they're playing, before they're playing, after they're playing, that will be built into their daily schedule when they are on campus. Breaks for following COVID protocols. We do realize that students will need a break from their masks for a few minutes. So there will be a designated location outside of their classroom where one at a time they can sit there without their mask on for a couple minutes to take that break and then come back and rejoin their class. For screening procedures, at this time, the direction of the county health is that all families and staff will screen at home. And when in doubt, sit it out. If your child is having any symptoms of any illness, we are asking that they stay at home and they can join the virtual classes for that day. They will not miss out on anything. So even if you think they might have something that is not COVID, we still ask that they sit it out at home, but they can participate virtually. And the teachers will have those links for you, and it would be an easy add on to the virtual piece for that day. We will have an isolation room on campus for those who are on campus and we find that they have symptoms or are sick. They will go to that isolation room. Families will be called immediately to come pick up their child. And then lunches at Star Academy, once again, will be by grade level. And then students will be assigned a table. So only 2 students per table. They will be spaced out. That will be their spot for most all of the semester. We do not see it changing unless COVID magically goes away, which I don't think is going to quite happen. So they will have a spot. They will be by somebody who's already in their class. So once again, keeping those cohorts stable and not intermingling the different cohorts. One thing that second grade was talking about, and actually most all of our grades were talking about, is that students are kind of eating throughout the day right now. My recommendation would be that once we know that we're going towards hybrid or even starting in January, trying to get your child used to eating at a designated lunchtime, because they won't be able to just eat throughout the day and graze. Another recommendation that is really good for younger kids is to see what they can actually open on their own and pack a lunch with items that they can open on their own. Trying to keep that social distancing and not touching each other's stuff as much as possible. And then the seating for lunch will be mostly outside, but if we need to, we will open up the doors in the multi-purpose room and have tables in there too that are spread out. If it is inclement weather, the students will be eating in the classrooms at that point. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so we can go to questions. All right.
I have been able to field the questions in the chat unless there is something new. I finally am in a good swing of things.
So the question that was just asked about distance learning lessons and having 36 students, once we transition, do you anticipate this will be manageable? A little concerned about distance learning lesson, or a little concerned about how distant learning lessons will shift. Second grade, do you want to address this or do you want me to answer it?
Well, second grade's lucky in the fact that our numbers were such that we have 2 distance learning teachers. So before it was just going to be 1 distance learning teacher with like all their kids plus all the track kids. And that was a little scary, but this 36 kids, 36 second graders is a lot to manage, but I mean, luckily they've gotten really good at Zoom and they're excellent at raising their hands, or excellent at participating through the chat. So, I mean, I'm sure Mrs. Boffman and Miss Mize have their own worries about having to teach 36 second graders, but also I think it's going to be pretty seamless because we're going to be following that same lesson plan. Like, it's going to look very similar. It's going to feel the same. It's going to have the same flow. The only difference is going to be there's just a few extra kids. So did anybody want to add more to that?
So one thing I would say is we also have the distance learning facilitator, who's Khadijah. Khadijah, do you want to wave your hand? I forgot to introduce her at the beginning. I did not see her. So she is also there to support with the virtual students. So that's almost like having 3 teachers there and being able to help support. Additionally, the reason why we had done this model where we have designated hybrid teachers and designated distance learning teachers, is it is much easier to manage students when they're all in one format. So when they're all virtual, it is much easier to manage them when you have part of the kids in person and part virtual. That actually nobody wins in that model because you're trying to go back and forth between the two. And we have seen from people we know that are in Rockland and Roseville and other surrounding areas, it's a real struggle for teachers to be managing both. But we've had a lot of success when everybody is in that model. Second grade has had some extra kids in their class this year too, just navigating different things that are going on. And so we've been really successful and they've done a phenomenal job. And so that really shows us that this is something that's manageable, and second grade is extremely lucky. They are the only grade level that has this kind of broken up where it worked out that we have 2 hybrid teachers and 2 distance learning teachers, but it should work very well for them.
And can I add to that as well? As one of the distant learning teachers, I know that my priority is going to be my 22 students. And then I will also be taking hands as we go throughout the day, but just know that I don't want my distant learning kids to lose out because I don't get to see them every day. So I am going to always take my main 22 kids as my priority, or 23 kids or 24 kids as my priority. And then I will also be taking questions on the side of the hybrid kids as well.
Any other questions?
And then also the question that's below that question about the hand raising, I didn't even see that question. Okay, was we are going to offer more office hours support as well. So there will be much more time for kids to drop in and ask questions. And we're mainly going to be working through the lesson throughout the day, and then office hours is going to be much more structured now, so that kids can come ask those questions, get those questions answered, and we have more hands on deck now for those questions.
You'll see later on, we're going to have a sign up for the facilitator. So Ms. Khadija will have a sign up sheet. So if, for example, hybrid students, if your child was not with me in person and they were learning from home for that day, they will be attending Ms. Bachman's class. If they had a question or concern, they just need some extra support or practice, they would sign up for that, for the office hour, they sign up for the office hour, and then we will be able to support. And there's going to be a designated math office time and reading office time, and then kind of in between, just so we can support those who need it. I know we have a couple of students who just want that reassurance or that extra practice. And so we want to make sure that we give them the attention that they're needing or wanting, but we can also make use of our time by bundling them together with common needs or concerns.
Anybody else have any other questions? Kind of watching it to see if I don't see anything popping up. Please know that we are all here. Everybody that is on this call, we are all here for you. If you need anything, Ms. Hines is also a great resource. I keep referring people to that. As we move through this transition, whether your child is switching teachers and nervous about that, or even just dealing with everything that's going on right now, she is more than happy to meet with your child or with your family, or once again, give you resources for the community, whatever it is that you need. And we're also here to answer any of your questions. So thank you for joining us. Feel free to reach out, and then have a great evening. Thank you, everybody. Oh, I need to stop recording.